There's a quiet little secret about pineapples that almost nobody at the grocery store knows. And once you learn it, you will never bring home a sour, bitter, woody pineapple again. The old folks knew it. Farmers knew it. The Amish, who grew up trusting their hands and their senses more than any label or sticker, would have called it common sense. But somewhere along the way, most of us forgot. So let us slow down for a few minutes and learn the right way, the patient way, the way that actually works. Here's the truth that changes everything. A pineapple does not ripen after it is picked. Not on your counter, not in a paper bag, not next to a banana, not upside down in the fridge. Nowhere. Whatever sweetness a pineapple has when it leaves the field is the sweetness you're going to taste at your kitchen table. That is it. There is no second chance. Scientists have a word for this. They call pineapples non-climacteric fruit. It sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. Some fruits, like bananas, peaches, avocados, and tomatoes, keep ripening after you pick them. They release a gas called ethylene, and that gas slowly turns their stored starch into sugar. That is why a rock-hard avocado softens on your counter and why a green banana turns yellow in a few days. But a pineapple does not work that way. A pineapple produces almost no ethylene. Researchers measured it. A pineapple gives off less than half a part per million of ethylene gas, while an apple can give off more than 2,000. The pineapple simply does not have the machinery to keep sweetening itself once it is cut off from the mother plant. Think about what that means. Every trick you have heard about ripening a pineapple at home is, scientifically speaking, a fairy tale. The brown paper bag does nothing. The sunny windowsill does nothing. Sticking it next to a banana does nothing for the sugar inside. The fruit might soften a little. The skin might keep turning yellow because ethylene can still break down the green pigment in the rind. But the sweetness, the actual sugar, is locked in forever the moment the fruit leaves the field. The famous food scientist Harold McGee put it plainly, non-climacteric fruits depend on the parent plant for their sweetening. Once harvested, they get no sweeter. So everything, absolutely everything, comes down to choosing the right one at the store. There is no fixing it later, and that is exactly why the old way of picking, the slow, hands-on, sensory way, matters so much. Now, before we get to the 4 tests that actually work, let us bust one more myth that you have probably seen on social media. You know the one. Cut the top off, turn the pineapple upside down in the fridge, and the sugars will redistribute and make the whole fruit sweeter. It sounds clever. It sounds like folk wisdom. But it is not true. Researchers at the University of California, Davis, at their post-harvest research center, looked into this carefully. They found no evidence that sugars and acids move between different parts of a harvested pineapple. The sugar is not floating around in a liquid that obeys gravity. It is dissolved inside the individual cells of the fruit, and it stays there. Flipping the pineapple upside down moves a little bit of free water around the inside, but it does not change the sweetness, the acidity, or the pH in any measurable way. In fact, leaving it sitting upside down too long can let bacteria grow at the cut base. So skip that trick. It was never real. But here is where things get genuinely fascinating. Because once you understand what a pineapple actually is, you understand why one part of it is sweeter than another, and you understand exactly what to look for when you're standing in the produce aisle. A pineapple is not one fruit. It is more than 100 tiny fruits all fused together into a single body. Look closely at the skin of a pineapple. You see all those little patterned shapes that look like scales or eyes. Each one of those is its own baby fruit. Botanists call this a composite fruit, or sometimes a multiple fruit. Each little eye started life as its own flower with its own ovary, and as the plant grew, all those individual fruitlets pressed together and fused into the single spiky shape we know. This is not just a fun fact. It is the key to the whole mystery of pineapple sweetness. Because the fruitlets at the bottom of the pineapple bloomed first. They are older. They had more time on the plant, more time to gather sugar, more time to mature. The fruitlets at the top bloomed last, so they are the youngest and the least developed. That is why, when you cut a pineapple open, the bottom slices are noticeably sweeter than the top slices. It is not because sugar sank to the bottom. It is because the bottom is literally older than the top. The bottom of a pineapple is, in a sense, a more grown-up fruit than the crown end. Now that you know this, you know 2 things. First, when you're picking a pineapple in the store, you should pay the most attention to the bottom of the fruit. That is where the real ripeness lives. Second, when you slice your pineapple at home, save the bottom rings for the people you love most. Those are the sweetest. All right, now let us get to the 4 tests. And we are going to rank them honestly, the way an old farmer would, from the most reliable down to the one that the influencers love, but the experts trust the least. The first and most reliable test is your nose. Lift the pineapple up and smell the bottom of the fruit, right at the base where the stem used to be. A ripe pineapple should smell sweet and fragrant and tropical, like a beach vacation in fruit form. That sweetness in the air is the real thing. It is the actual aromatic compounds, the volatile sugars and esters leaking out through the rind. If you smell nothing at all, the pineapple is probably underripe. The fruit has not built up enough of those aromatic compounds yet, and it is going to taste flat and tart. And if you smell something sharp, fermented, vinegary, or sour, like alcohol or old wine, put it down. That pineapple is overripe. The sugars inside have already started to ferment, and the flesh will be mushy, brown in spots, and disappointing. The marketing leadership at Fresh Del Monte, one of the largest pineapple producers in the world, said this directly. The best single test for ripeness is to smell the base. Sweet means ready, sour means gone. No smell means not yet. Trust your nose first. It will rarely lie to you. The second test is weight. Pick up the pineapple and feel how heavy it is. Then pick up another pineapple that looks about the same size and compare. The heavier of the two is almost always the better choice. A heavier pineapple is a juicier pineapple, and a juicier pineapple is a riper, sweeter pineapple. The weight comes from water and sugar inside the cells. A light pineapple, for its size, is one that has not finished developing. A heavy one is full of liquid gold. This is one of those quiet, almost magical tricks that experienced grocery shoppers do without even thinking. They lift two and pick the heavy one. Now you know why. The third test is color, but you have to read it correctly because most people read it wrong. The general idea is that a pineapple changes from green to golden yellow as it matures, and the more yellow it is, the riper it is. That is true, but with a big asterisk. The skin color is not always honest. Some varieties of pineapple stay quite green even when they are perfectly ripe inside. And here's the tricky part. The rind can be tricked into turning yellow by ethylene gas in the warehouse, even when the inside has not actually become any sweeter. So a yellow skin alone does not guarantee a sweet pineapple. What you really want to do is look at the bottom of the fruit. The base is the most honest part. If the base is a warm golden yellow with maybe a little green still mixed in, you are in the right zone. If the base is still dark green all over, the fruit was probably picked too early. If the base is dark orange, brown, or has soft mushy spots, the fruit is past its prime. So use color, but read it at the base and use it as a starting point, not a final verdict. The fourth test is the one you have seen all over TikTok, the leaf tug, the frond pull. You reach into the crown of leaves on top of the pineapple, grab one of the inner leaves, and give it a gentle tug. The story goes that if the leaf pulls out easily, the pineapple is ripe. If it stays firmly stuck, the fruit is not ready. The theory behind it is real. As a pineapple matures, the flesh inside expands, water and sugar circulate through the tissue, and the connection between the leaves and the fruit naturally loosens. So a leaf that comes out with a soft tug is a sign of a more mature fruit. That part is honest. But here is what the influencers will not tell you. The leaf tug test is the least reliable of the four. When food writers actually asked the experts at the major pineapple companies, the people who grow and ship millions of these fruits, almost none of them named the leaf tug as their primary test. They pointed to the smell. They pointed to the weight. They pointed to the base color. The leaf tug is more of a fun final check than a serious test. Use it last. Use it as a gut feeling. But do not bet your whole pineapple on it. Now, while you have that pineapple in your hands, here are a few more things worth knowing that almost nobody talks about. First, that strange, tingling, prickling, almost burning feeling you get on your tongue and the roof of your mouth when you eat fresh pineapple, that is not your imagination. That is the pineapple, in a very literal sense, eating you back. Pineapples contain a powerful enzyme called bromelain. Bromelain is a protease, which means it breaks down protein. The same kind of protein that makes up the soft tissue inside your mouth. When you bite into a slice of fresh pineapple, the bromelain immediately starts digesting the proteins on your tongue, your cheeks, and the roof of your mouth. It quietly dissolves the thin protective layer of mucin that normally coats those surfaces. Once that layer is broken down, the natural acid of the pineapple gets through to the raw tissue underneath. That is why your mouth tingles and stings. It is the enzyme and the acid working together. The pineapple is, very literally, trying to digest you. Do not worry. Once the pineapple gets to your stomach, your own digestive acids and enzymes break the bromelain down, and the inside of your mouth heals quickly. But the next time you eat too much fresh pineapple in one sitting and your tongue feels raw, you will know exactly why. This is also the reason pineapple makes such a brilliant natural meat tenderizer. The same enzyme that bothers your tongue will quietly break down a tough steak overnight. Cooks have known this for hundreds of years. If you want to enjoy pineapple without the sting, there are two simple fixes. The first is heat. Bromelain is a protein itself, and like all proteins, it falls apart when you cook it. Grilling a pineapple, baking it, roasting it, or even searing it in a hot pan deactivates the enzyme completely. That is why grilled pineapple tastes so smooth and gentle on the mouth. It is also why canned pineapple never stings, because the canning process involves heating the fruit, which destroys the bromelain long before it reaches your plate. The second fix is salt. Just a light sprinkle of plain table salt across the cut surface of the pineapple makes a real difference. Sodium has a chemistry quirk. It blocks the taste buds that detect bitterness. So a tiny pinch of salt mutes the bitter and tart notes of the pineapple, and your brain ends up reading the fruit as noticeably sweeter than it really is. It is an old trick, and it works on almost any fruit that is a little too sour for your liking. There is one more bit of pineapple wisdom worth passing along. Have you ever noticed that a pineapple sometimes tastes sweeter the next day? Even though you know logically it cannot have gained any sugar? You are not crazy. That happens. But it is not because the fruit got sweeter. It is because the fruit got less sour. Even after harvest, a pineapple keeps breathing very slowly. That slow respiration gently breaks down some of the citric acid inside the fruit over a day or two at room temperature. Less acid means less tartness, and when your tongue is fighting less sourness, the same amount of sugar tastes sweeter to you. So if you bring a pineapple home and it tastes a little sharp, just leave it on the counter for a day. You will not be adding sugar. You will be quietly removing acid. The result feels like the same thing. Once your pineapple is cut, the rules change. Cut pineapple should go in the refrigerator in an airtight container, and it will keep its best flavor and texture for 3 to 4 days. After that, the flesh starts to break down, the bromelain keeps slowly working even in the cold, the texture turns soft and watery. Whole pineapples can sit on the counter for a day or two at room temperature, but once they are at peak ripeness, the fridge is your friend. So let us bring it all back together. The old way of picking a pineapple is not really about secret tricks. It is about slowing down enough to use your senses. Lift the fruit, feel its weight in your palm, tilt it toward your face, and breathe in at the base. Look at the color where the stem used to be. Notice the firmness. Notice the smell. Trust what your hands and your nose are telling you, because they are reading real, honest signals that no sticker on the side of the bin can give you. Remember the deep truths. A pineapple cannot ripen after it is picked, so the one you choose in the store is the one you bring home forever. The bottom is sweeter than the top because the bottom is older, made of fruitlets that bloomed first and matured longest on the plant. Flipping it upside down does nothing. A brown paper bag does nothing. There's no shortcut. There's only the careful, patient choice in the moment you reach for it. Use your nose first, use weight second, read the color at the base, not the whole skin, and treat the leaf tug as a fun extra, not a verdict. Do that, and you will walk out of the store with a pineapple that is heavy with juice, glowing with sweetness at the bottom, and full of that warm, tropical fragrance that tells you everything you need to know. Slice it from bottom to top. Save the bottom rings for the people you love. Sprinkle a tiny bit of salt if it needs lifting. Grill the rest if you want to skip the sting. That is the old way, the slow way, the honest way. No gadgets, no labels, no marketing. Just your hands, your nose, and a little bit of knowledge that almost everyone else has forgotten. The next time you stand in front of a pile of pineapples at the store, you will not be guessing anymore. You will be choosing. And there is a quiet kind of satisfaction in that, the kind of satisfaction the old folks always understood, that comes from knowing exactly what you are doing and trusting your own senses to lead you home.